Good morning. Welcome back to the Brother Wease Show. We are live. Billy, Deanna, Marianne, all here. My name is Paulie, and our guest in studio right now is, please tell me I got this, Maritza Buitrago.
You got it perfect.
Beautiful, yes.
Paulie.
Io so parlare l'italiano, quindi so un
I
po'.
would have said Maritza Buitrago. Close enough.
That's great. You don't have to pronounce it when you go to the ballot.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Just look for
That's
it.
right, yeah. Maritza is running for family court judge. How's it going so far? Is it long? You guys work hard when you're campaigning like that.
We do, but I think that our children and our families deserve that. And you get to meet a lot of great people in our community.
Sure.
I am excited. You get a little bit of adrenaline going. And I'm actually jealous of you. You have such a wonderful
It's beautiful
view
up here, right? Yeah, we're at the top
Yes.
of a building downtown. Right, it is, and it's such a gorgeous day today. It's like today's the last day to eat lunch outside. I think that's what I've been
Well,
saying.
our view is of Wease.
Yeah, that's
We're
right.
so,
Our
as long
back
as we
is to
look
the
out at the
view.
windows, we're good. If we try to look forward, it's a whole nother story.
So Maritza, tell us about your background a little bit. Tell us where'd you grow up, where'd you go to school, stuff like that.
Well, I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and I came here as a scholarship recipient 25 years ago. Decided I wanted to serve the community. I studied at the University of Rochester, got my bachelor's degree there, master's in teaching, taught in the Rochester City School District, then commuted to Buffalo to get my Juris Doctor degree. And I've been serving our community. I taught in the Rochester City School District, participation in government, 12 graders, and at school number 12. And I have been working as an attorney for nearly 20 years now. And I'm so excited to be here. I want to thank you, each of you, and I want to thank Brother Wease, and I hope he has a quick recovery.
Yeah,
And we get to see him here soon.
Yeah, so it's Maritza Buitrago, and her name will be on the ballot on November 8th. Family court, to me, being an outsider, and luckily, I guess I'm lucky to say that I haven't spent any time inside family court. It seems to me like you have to deal with some pretty heavy things, some really ugly issues. I mean, can you speak a little bit to that, some of the things that you're dealing with on a daily basis?
Of course.
Or
I
would
mean,
be?
in family, no one wants to be in family court, but if you've talked to anyone who has been there, you know that you see people there in crisis, and they're there at the most troubling of times, but you get to see people at the sad times, and you also get some joyful moments in family court. The types of cases we deal with are many. You could cover a paternity case, a custody case, who makes major decisions about children and visitation. We cover order of protection cases. We cover abuse and neglect cases, cases that have to deal with safety of children, termination of parental rights. We have the adoption and the guardianships. And we also have the juvenile delinquents, known as the JDs, and the persons in need of supervision. So family court is the first chance to turn a child's life around and a family's life around. But for some of our children, it could also be the last resort before we lose them to the adult criminal justice system, and in some very sad cases, to an early grave. So it's important to have judges who have legal knowledge and experience, but also who have the qualifications and that empathy, who are balanced and sensitive to all families and all children, because each family and each child, it's unique.
I was just going to ask, is family court different than what I picture a criminal court to be like, in the sense that maybe in criminal court, a judge has to completely just take their emotions out of it, or at least that's my impression, and follow the law? In family court, do you incorporate your emotions more?
Well, you have to be sensitive. You have to be balanced. One thing about family court, and that's a great question. In
nice.
family court, you do not have jury trials. So let's start with that. There's the judge has to look at the law. You have to apply the law, and but you also have to be balanced, and you have to be able to understand the crisis that the family and or the child or the grandparents, the people in front of you are going through. And I have been, for the last 7 years, I'm in family court day to day, in the trenches, like I call it, seeing families who are dealing with drug addiction issues, with mental health issues, safety issues, poverty. Some of my clients have multiple jobs. I am an assistant public defender, and I represent clients and families who are not able to afford to pay for their own lawyer.
There was a story in the news about the Geneseo Walmart. Do you think that would be part of family court, or about the kids?
Let's
so
bring it
there's
up.
two kids, two little girls, 11 and 13, that their mother encouraged them to steal $1,400 worth of merchandise from Walmart in Geneseo. It was just in the paper. So in this case, we were talking about it, and we said they're kind of old enough to have known right from wrong. Is that something you would try, or?
Well, I cannot comment about that specific case, but in general, we see in family court some cases who have connections to the criminal court cases. So for instance, if there's a child who is left alone, you can have a parent who is facing in criminal court and endangering the welfare of a child.
This
Criminal
mother would
charge,
be charged for that,
and
yeah.
then the parent could also be facing in family court a neglect case
Yes,
where the child was removed from his or her care.
Right.
But you do not only have that parent involved in family court in the context of the neglect case. The other parent is brought in as an interested party, and I get to represent the interested parties too. It does not necessarily have to be a parent. It could be someone who takes care of the child, who has custody of the child. And you could also see that case in the context of a juvenile delinquent or a person in need of supervision case. In this
Well, one of
case-
the big cases recently was the suspect for the Duran Eastman. He led police on the high-speed chase, and then it was a family court judge that actually let him go under
After
supervision.
that case, after that happened?
After the chase and the
Wow.
firearm, and he had an ankle bracelet, and then he ended up being arrested for robbing and beating an old man. How do you decide when to let a kid out and give them a shot? Obviously, this was the wrong decision in this case.
Well, I cannot comment on that
Right.
particular case just because of the rules that judicial candidates have. But you have to look at the background. The Department of Probation does conduct an investigation, and you have, for the most part, judges have that information available to them so that they can look at that, look at where they're going to be placing the child, because in the context of the juvenile delinquent cases, you can place a child in a secure detention facility, in a non-secure detention facility, could place a child with a person in the community with an ankle bracelet. So the judge has different alternatives available, but you have to look at the background. School, sometimes teachers will come in so that you can make a decision. Unfortunately, there are some instances where things do not result the way that you were anticipating them, and but we try to look at all of those factors in family court to make the decision that it's appropriate for that child, for that family.
Maritza, where is the best Puerto Rican food in Rochester? You would be the authority on this.
Well, there
We
are
got to
so
get to the
many
hard
pla-
questions
there,
here.
there are so many. There are so many places to eat at. I actually was at El Pilon recently, but
Nice.
we have many good places. Not only Puerto Rican, but
Yeah.
you have sobrinos. So
I don't know the differences. Like, I don't know, but I'm going to Juan and Maria's for an enchilada after work today. That's my joint right there. I'm going down to the public
that's a
market.
good place.
Juan is a good man.
He is, and his wife. It's amazing, and they work so hard.
Yes.
I see them there for the food rodeos,
Yeah.
the food truck rodeos.
That's right. You're at all these events. Maritza Buitrago is running for family court judge. She is the only candidate for family court rated highly qualified. Got that right off your website right there. You mentioned, you referenced a couple times the rules. You said, I can't comment specifically on that case. Are there different rules on you than there are on, for example, like a presidential race where they're being asked about all the issues? You can't second guess these judges even though you're running to be a judge yourself, right? Is that what I'm sensing?
That's right, and there are other things that are very unique to judicial candidates. So you cannot comment on specific cases. There are some ethical guidelines. In fact, we have to take a training when we are running, and you have to be certified that you took that training. You cannot.
We take training too. We ignore it though.
You cannot take positions on issues or political positions, even though judicial candidates run on party lines. But the principle behind that is that you want to ensure the fair and impartial administration of justice. And you certainly do not want a person making decisions about your children and your families based upon religious beliefs or political beliefs or to have a specific agenda. A judge has to look at the facts of the case as they are presented to him or her and then apply the law. There's something you mentioned about the highly qualified. And a lot of people say, what does that mean? And basically, there are 3 different attorney bar associations in Monroe County, judges, retired judges, and attorneys, and you go before them. And I was not afraid to go before all of those groups because I think it's important for voters to know about the qualifications of the people who are trying to make decisions about the future of their families and their children. And each of them found me highly qualified. Actually, some of them gave me even a higher rating, but they gave me the highest rating possible, as well as the Independent Judicial Evaluation Commission. And they use criteria of things that are important to being a good judge, like integrity, like judicial temperament, knowledge of the law, communication skills. So I think that it's important for the voters to know what does that really mean.
We have a few questions from texters. One said, what's the percentage of men that win custody of a child or children, and does she feel women have more of a percentage, and why?
I have seen men get custody of children. In fact, I have helped men get custody, fathers get custody of children, but I've also represented grandparents, aunts, and uncles who may have had custody of children. In terms of percentages, it's hard to give you that because it's a fluid number. But I have been successful in actually representing fathers who have been able to get children who were illegally removed from New York State. That's the worst nightmare that a parent could face. Get returned here and get custody. And I've also represented mothers get custody of their children. You also have in family court changes sometimes. You may a case may start with someone who originally had custody of a child, and because of some challenges that that parent was facing, that could be changed. And you also have a joint custody. You get parents who share custody of their children and share time with their children. The important thing is that you have to be fair, and that's something that it's been very important for me. You have to be fair to each party that's before you. As I said, there should not be a specific agenda because you have to look at the unique circumstances of that person, and there are factors that the law considers in terms of fitness, ability to care for a child, stability when deciding a custody case. Ultimately, what is the decision? It's the best interest of that child at that moment in time.
Maritza, I am on record as saying a New York City accent is my favorite, but I think Puerto Rican might be my new favorite accent. I can listen to you talk all day. I love that. It's a beautiful accent. That's
Sometimes
fantastic.
I get excited and that passion comes through. I need to remind myself of that.
Right, she could give bad news with that accent. You'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going
Sorry.
to prison. All right.
Yeah, I know. Maritza Buitrago, she's running for family court judge. I understand you have to be in court in a little while. Is that right?
I do because I work exclusively in family court. And you were asking about the emotional part in family court. Because I'm there every day. I have handled thousands of cases in that court. I know the situations, I know the law, and that's one thing that makes me unique. When you're there continuously for 7 years, dealing with the challenges, with the struggles, that families are dealing with, that gives you a unique perspective that you can bring with you to the bench, because how things happen outside of the courtroom and the courthouse, it's very different when you are seeing those real challenges. I mean, this is reality. Our families and children in Monroe County are dealing with so many issues, conflict in the home, and those dynamics are extremely important to be aware of. And yes, I'm still working in family court right now. I've in addition to family court, as we were talking, I have worked in other courts in Monroe County as an assistant public defender. I did work in town courts all the way to Supreme Court, the Integrated Domestic Violence Court, and the Mental Health Court. And I've also worked before in family court with the Legal Aid Society. And I cannot forget, because my friend Carlos would be upset if I forget, that I also worked at the Attorney General's office for a period of time.
Well, I'm so embarrassed about my resume now that she's listed hers.
I know, right?
Well,
Can't keep up.
yeah,
No,
I talk on the radio
I
once.
once did afternoons on a top 40 station. So, but you got to really keep your emotions out of afternoons on a top 40. You got to treat Lady Gaga the same as Nickelback. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really show. It's, anytime you want me to explain it to you, I will. It's fine. It's kind of hard to understand.
So it would be nice to take a break and spend some time with you guys, because I know how hard you work. We were talking about how early you get up, and look at you. You're all smiling. You're in great spirits, and I admire that. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for
thank
that.
you.
Your listeners are so lucky to have you to cheer them up.
Oh, she's so sweet.
Go on,
My
Maritza.
gosh.
Go on.
She made me feel so good about myself today. She's so sweet.
What did I tell you after I talked? I came in this room and I said, she is the sweetest lady ever, after I met you in the other room.
Well, and you know what? In family court, you need that. You also need to be firm. I mean, sometimes you need some tough love. You need to